Good morning. I finally figured out how to go live, so we're gonna do this one live. Another little test of my abilities here. We're gonna. I found this lady on YouTube the other day, and she killed me with what the things she was saying about Hassan and his thoughts on China. He's a total moron. Nobody needed any proof of that. But let's watch this. I watched her first video on it. I haven't watched this one yet. So let's take a look at this one together and just laugh at Hassan.
Wish I could tell you how it makes me feel as someone who was born and raised in authoritarian China and did everything I could to escape that. And I came here and I found him.
So, yeah,
This woman could have been killed for escaping China. They could try to kill her now for talking shit about Winnie the Pooh in China. But she does not care. And this represents some of the Western ideas that she's trying to fight against.
is there a country that's done socialism the way that you like?
I would say China is probably the closest to an example that we should follow.
As someone who was born and raised in China, this isn't the first time I've heard someone in the West talking up the Chinese government. It's usually not something worth making a video about, but this time it's different. This time, Hassan Piker, the American political commentator, said something different. What he
Do we have
said.
to claim him as American? Isn't he Turkish? Could we start saying Turkish American? Like, he doesn't want to be with us, so why are we letting him say he's with us?
Was sophisticated, nuanced, extremely deceiving Chinese propaganda.
I think that uplifting
No, it's not.
800 million people out of extreme poverty is an incredibly impressive feat. Being able to develop this country in the aftermath of colonial extraction, World War II, infighting, and civil war, and to become a competitive force that is slated to overtake America as in a multipolar world is very impressive. And I think we should.
Let's pretend some of those things are real. Let's pretend they did lift some people out of poverty. It's because of capitalism, you moron. They started injecting more capitalism into their country, into their economics, and then they were able to modernize. Had they stayed communist, they'd still be in breadlines.
Learn from that in the United States of America. We should look to that and learn some lessons from that. And that's the reason why I always try to use China as an alternative, as an example.
I can't tell you how just weird it is to hear someone who looks like him repeats what my Chinese teacher said when I was 12.
Shocking.
It felt so surreal that I thought I was back in China as a Chinese student in a Chinese classroom. Except Hassan Piker was not born in China. He was not subject to Chinese education. He was actually born in the US and he got a US education. I've actually never heard of Hassan Piker before his China-related content blew up. He has recently done several quite high-profile interviews where he talks about how he admires China and how we should all learn from their way of governing. After going to a trip to China, which many said was paid by the Chinese Communist Party in the first place.
Just a reminder, I know it is dumb of me to say this as I'm doing a stream with no followers, as I have videos with views in the 20s. I'm never taking a sponsor no matter what, except for the $7,000 from Israel. I'll take that. Other than that, nothing. The only money I'll ever make on this is whatever y'all give me. I will not take a foreign paid schlock and glaze fest like this bag of douche did.
I'm going to debunk some of his most deceiving and sophisticated propaganda on China that he knowingly or unknowingly spread to the public. But first of all, who is Hassan Piker? He's branded himself as this progressive leftist pundit. And his audience, which is huge, he has millions of followers on Twitch, on YouTube. His audience is mainly Gen Z or millennial men. He also appeared alongside politicians, people like AOC.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have Bernie Sanders and AOC in the building.
And interestingly, at the time I'm filming this video, he was invited to the UBC, the University of British Columbia, as a guest lecturer. For those of you who are not familiar with Canadian universities, UBC is one of the most prestigious universities in the country, especially when it comes to international studies. So he is objectively very successful, which is why I think his opinions on China is worth exploring.
When you are getting the poorest of the dispossessed masses out of a situation where they were servile to landed gentry, or they were peasants from an agrarian society, or they were dominated by the landlords, but then ultimately they were able to come into modernity and become like a powerhouse, an industrial powerhouse that is competitive with the largest superpower on the planet. I would say if that's the point of good governance, China is probably the closest. There are still plenty of failures within the Chinese system as well, plenty of issues within the Chinese system as well, but that's probably the closest, I would say, to an example that we should follow and lessons that we should learn from. China is not a...
I honestly can't stand this argument because it's just simply misinformation and it's carefully packaged. And I want you to know that this type of narrative is extremely effective because it is a good story. Who doesn't love a story of triumph? Who doesn't love a story that tells you no matter how poor you are, there is this communist party that can give you what you've always wanted and you don't have to be poor anymore? Who doesn't love that? Except it's not true. Communism is not why China got rich. Capitalism is. The economic boom only started after the CCP loosened control and allowed market reforms, aka capitalism. That's what got us out of that shithole that we were desperate to get out of. I'm so riled up whenever someone else like him.
Capitalism was needed to save communism.
Who doesn't know anything about our history is basically spreading misinformation with a confident face. And here's an important detail that a lot of people miss, even for seasoned China watchers. The policy ushered by the Chinese Communist Party, the open and reform policy, it was started by local farmers and villagers. Local officials and villagers experimented with semi-capitalist practices because people were starving. Why were we starving? Because of the Chinese Communist Party and their communist policies. And when the local farmers or the villagers experimented with this new policy, they were doing that illegally. And the central government turned a blind eye at first. When they actually saw the results, they said, okay, we'll go along with it. So it's actually the Chinese people who defied communism that saved the country, not the Chinese Communist Party. And if you want to see your children and your parents starve to death, by all means, try communism.
I wouldn't say that China is a communist, and neither would you, but it's run by a communist party. And so far, they have seen a pretty successful, robust level of growth and development overall. They have analyzed the failures of previous communist and socialist formations, and they have responded to it in their own way.
This sounds nuanced and even sounds smart, but again, it is wrong. Hassan is trying to justify the legality of an authoritarian regime. And by the way, this is an argument that's used by the Chinese Communist Party repeatedly to its own people and to the rest of the world. We got China rich, so we don't need a voting process. We don't need democracy. We got you rich. You got to do what I tell you to do. Whenever I hear that argument, I think people miss the difference between the Chinese Communist Party, and the Chinese people. The Chinese Communist Party actually put us into poverty and put the Chinese people through so many atrocities that you just can't even imagine.
And the guy who started all of it is the guy that Hassan was cosplaying as at the those streamer awards. He caused an unknown amount of deaths in the millions, and Hassan's running around dressed up as him. Soy face geeking out in his pants when someone gives him a little red book written by.
The minute they stepped back and loosened their control, we thrived. It's like they robbed you of, say, $1,000, and then they give you $10 back, and then they tell you, you got rich, you were poor, you didn't have any money, and now you have $10 back. Look at us, look at how great we are. Isn't that just insane? And in that process of us getting that $10 back, by the way, it is at the expense of the Chinese people's well-being, where we're not being paid well. There's corruption, there's brutal oppression of people who want democracy in China. The wealth, the prosperity, it is not because they were in power, it is because they partially retreated themselves. And look at what they're doing now. The second they feel threatened by the Chinese people's wealth, what do? They rein in. Hassan Piker's whole brand is built on shitting on the American government, shitting on democracy, shitting on capitalism, when everything he has is because of them. He is able to build a brand that is highly critical of his government because he has the luxury of doing that, because he has the freedom to do that. He will not have that in China. He will not have that in Venezuela. And don't get me wrong, I think any government deserves a little bit of self-criticism. That's one of the reasons I went to journalism school. But to go so far as to say that everything China does is good and everything that the US does is wrong is just absurd. I hate to break it to you, Hassan Piker, communism is not going to save you. Communism is not going to save your followers. And for people like him, their problem is that they think they're the good guy. They fall for this narrative because they want to be the good guy. And communism sounds like that, except it's everything but. It is not about being the good guy. And I'm so worried about the younger generation here in North America. They're not going to remember what happened in Tiananmen Square. It happened such a long time ago that the younger generation, they don't understand. They grew up watching people like Hassan Piker. They grew up watching TikTok. And who owns TikTok? China does. And their parents, people in the West, they have never experienced far left. Many of them refuse to believe such thing exists. They are worried about the far right, and they're right. We should worry about extremism on both sides. But they do not understand what it means to have a far left government when people like us who are authoritarian regimes survivors, when we speak up, we get ignored.
As Vietnamese refugee, we have endured suffering under the communist regime, and we believe that.
Okay, you, dude. I mean, seriously, you, old lady. Shut you stupid, idiotic old lady. Who is you, America or Ho Chi Minh? Suck my old lady. God, dude. Yo, this refugee, okay? Seriously. This South Vietnamese Christian supremacist psychotic refugee living in America now and able to talk that. Why don't you go back and live in South Vietnam in the same conditions, if that's your perspective?
I wish I could tell you how it makes me feel as someone who was born and raised in authoritarian China and did everything I could to escape that. And I came here and I found him. I found Hassan Piker, someone with a large number of followers who obviously has a powerful voice, and he's repeating the Chinese Communist Party's propaganda so well. And the reason I want to start this channel is I've had enough of this.
Good
I've
for
had
you,
enough
lady.
of
This lady's awesome. She needs all the
propaganda.
followers. Whoa. What am I about to watch? Oh, the real reason Mama betrayed that. But, alright, that's pretty good. Someone will clip it. Sweet. Oh, Hassan, Hassan, Hassan. This absolute piece of trash. Let's take a look. Oh,
Siktir lan. Ha siktir git ha. Siktir git. Siktir lan. You like that? Ha siktir lan. Ha siktir git ha. Siktir
yes,
git lan amına
bro.
kodum. Ha siktir lan amına kodum. Ha siktir lan.
God bless you.
Anyway. Siktir lan. You like that? Ha siktir lan. Ha siktir git ha. Siktir git lan amına kodum. Ha
A lot simpler. Piece of shit. Whoa. Do we know the explanation, Hassan? Why does he lie so much about Asmongold? Jesus. Commended behavior. Asmongold has never been a backer of Israel. It's one of the places I disagree with him on most. Unbelievable. They just lie. That's all they do. That's all they know how to do. Why? Why do the Democrats have access to all of this for years if they hid it? And if they never showed it to the public? Looting Virginia. No, I don't remember that name. Trump. For got the ridiculous. Do we not believe victims? Did you not hear that forever? But bizarre, bizarre, bizarre. Where did I find that? Oh, we already talked about you, you freak. Zeke is the man. It sucks that he lost people. Like, nothing that Candace said ever made any sense. I don't know how she roped so many people into believing. So bizarre. So bizarre. Anyways, now that I know how to do this, I will be doing it more often and when people are actually awake too. So if you watch this on demand, have a great day. Give us a sub if you could. That would be amazing. Um, I don't know what else to say. I'm going to keep playing with this and get better at it.